Let's take a second to branch out a bit here. Chris, who is the quarterback that you're most interested in seeing beyond Mahomes and Rodgers this season? We got a lot of people in new places and a lot of rookies that could be starting.
Molly, it's Matt Stafford for me. And I know we touched on this a little bit earlier, but Matt Stafford worked with the Detroit Lions in order to find the best possible trade destination for him. And he decided to go to the LA Rams. Like, that's the team he chose. He keeps an offseason home in Southern California. Like, he wanted to be there. And the Rams and Les Snead and Sean McVay, they made it happen. They traded 2 future first-round picks in order to bring him over and get this team over the hump. Keep it in mind, they got rid of a guy that got them a Super Bowl appearance a few years ago. So, I mean, it has to be Matt Stafford seeing whether or not the difference in him having success at the highest level is being a part of a championship organization as opposed to being a part of the Detroit Lions. That's the thing I want to see. He's got a #1 defense. He's got the right supporting cast, a solid offensive line, and the skill position players. It's whether or not the quarterback can take them over the top. And I can't wait to see him matched up against those NFC West opponents. I can't wait to see him go head-to-head with Kyler Murray twice. I can't wait to see him go head-to-head with Russell Wilson. We're going to find out if the fifth highest, the fifth most, the guy that has, in terms of active quarterbacks, the 5th most yards, we're going to find out whether or not he belongs in that territory when we start having the conversation of elite quarterbacks.
I think he is intriguing. I've been saying it. But Stafford at his best when he was young, at least when there was like potential, right? Like you could imagine, to me always had kind of top 5 arm talent, right? And then there were questions around, is he just in a losing culture, all that. There's a guy playing right now. When my eyes are on him, I think there's Mahomes and Rodgers, and then this guy. And that's Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert has the kind of talent, like we can look at Josh Allen and guys like that, even Matthew Stafford, and go, boy, that's, you know, if you can't have Mahomes or Rodgers, you want that guy maybe. But I would say they're of a different, they're a different kind of player. It's not an issue of degree. Like Mahomes and Rodgers are a separate kind of animal than the other quarterbacks. And Justin Herbert has so much talent. I look at him and think, is he in that group? Because as a rookie, Anthony Lynn did not do a good job and had the handcuffs on him. Like, let's be honest about this. As a rookie, Justin Herbert was doing things that you go throwing the ball down the field where you're like, what? What?
It's special.
What? It's
special.
Special. And once upon a time, I had that same feeling about Matthew Stafford, but not quite to this degree. Like, when people look for comparisons to Justin Herbert, I've heard people on this network compare him to Mahomes. Stephen A. was sitting where you're sitting, and he said he kind of reminded him of Dan Marino. Now, of course, we all preface it. I'm not saying he's going to be Mahomes or Marino, but those are the kinds of comparisons. That's the rookie or the quarterback I'm most interested in watching this season.
What did it for me with Herbert was watching that game with the Kansas City Chiefs where they pushed that back to overtime. Like that to me was the game where you're like, this kid has got something special.
He belonged there with Mahomes.
They had every game by 1 touchdown.
Yeah, they had to play him before they wanted to because Anthony Lynn was saying he wanted Tyrod Taylor to be his guy. But the reason I go back to Stafford is because while we like what Justin Herbert has shown us, we're not expecting the Chargers to contend for a championship. We're not. They're there. They could be a playoff team, but they're not going to win it all. The Rams, everybody's looking at the Rams saying, what's the excuse? There's no excuse right now. You should be right there with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and we'll see what happens with Green Bay in terms of favorites in the NFC. Matt Stafford is supposed to deliver a championship at some point over the next 2 years while they got him on the contract.
Let me just give it perspective about Justin Herbert, though. You're right about the team. But to give some perspective, Trevor Lawrence has been more hyped than any quarterback, arguably, you brought it up earlier, maybe since John Elway as a prospect. Best prospect doesn't always turn out to be the best pro, but as a prospect, Andrew Luck was the last dude that kind of approximated that kind of buzz around him. He checks every single box. Think of the expectations. If Trevor Lawrence is simply as good as a rookie as Justin Herbert was, he would have met or exceeded the expectations. Justin Herbert already did what we're hoping the most valued prospect in 10 years at least might do next year. Already did it. As a rookie, already did it.
I keep saying it. Everyone's ignoring me. No one cares about Carson Wentz.
No, Carson Wentz is intriguing too because he's out of excuses.
Matt's a hater.
He's out of excuses as well. I mean, he's
his
getting
former
back.
coach. That's a good team.
He's getting back with Frank Reich, a really good offensive line, maybe the best in the National Football League. And then you're talking about that defense. Yeah, Carson Wentz is out of excuses. We got to find out who the real Carson Wentz is. Is it 2017 wins or is it 2020 wins? Let me do the Stephen A.
He's exactly right. But as Stephen A. would say, no excuses. That's exactly right. Yeah. There are no excuses for Carson Wentz. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.